All right. So now there was another Warren Thompson bit where he had come over and he had asked for a phone number to Brendan, which I am like, what do you want? And he's like, well, I want to call Brendan. I want to ask him if he knows somebody or if he can get me something. And I'm like what? And he's like, well, I don't want to tell you. And I'm like, you don't want to tell me what? He's like, well, I don't want to tell you, so I'm not going to tell you. Can I have Brendan's number? And I was like, yeah. I was like, sure, whatever. And so I gave it to him. So then he called Brendan. And then Donna, who's my assistant, Donna Bihn, I hired her. She came up from North Carolina. She's like, I thought, like, I mean, I trusted her implicitly with my entire business, like my back end of my business, where I needed somebody to do like the computer, like the data entry and stuff like I used to do for Peter, because I don't like that kind of work at all. I think it's a waste of time. And I like being out meeting people, and I needed to make money. So I tried to hire her to do the pulling together or like the keeping me in line because I'm such a scatterbrain, and I needed to stay focused. And she was like she's just like a mom, you know what I mean? Like she's just like one of those like really great women that are quiet, but you know that you could rely on her. Like if I was I could rely on her at that point. Like if I was in a meeting and I needed something, she picked up the phone right away, and it was always the correct answer. And we were like the dynamic duo. It worked out incredibly well. Towards the end, though, once Rich got involved and we moved, she moved out of my house because I stopped real estate for a while. Then I asked her to rehire. Then she wanted a real estate license, whatever. But then it got messy and icky, and I don't know. So Again, I don't comment. But in the beginning, Donna Bihn and I were great. But Donna said to me, she's like, Nicole, I just got a call while you were out on appointment. And now, this has to go back years ago. I don't know if she said a sheriff or a police or some kind of guardsman or something, that the man that, Warren, who I just sold the house to, that whatever, he called Brendan for a number, and somehow within the network of the chain of phone calls, the sheriff, we'll call him a sheriff, wanted to know if I knew what crack was. I'm like, wait a minute, Donna, you're going to have to back up for me for 1 second. I do real estate for a living. I just walked into my house to update myself on what transpired while I was gone. And you're telling me now I have the police calling me because Warren came over the other night, asked me for Brendan's phone number, and now the police are calling to find out if I know what crack is. I was like, no. I was like, I heard something. I was like, you're going to have to, maybe in passing in like a movie or whatever, but like honestly, do I have a picture of it? Do I know what it is? No. And so she was like, right, yeah, I didn't know what it was either. She's like, I had to call my husband and ask my husband. My husband, she said Donna's husband, she's like, said that it's some kind of street drug that was popular in the 80s. And I was like, Donna, I was born in 78. I was like, I wasn't on the streets in a hustle or like in that kind of crowd. I know you don't know much about me, but you see how I am with you, the quietness, and like when you leave, I have the nanny and myself and my kids. That's it. There's no transients coming in and out. It's quiet, and so no, I don't know those kinds of things. I don't really need to know those kinds of things. And she's like, well, see, the sheriff thinks you need to know this one. And I'm like, right, no, that I get. I was like, all right, but right, again, I'll learn it from the sheriff and from my assistant for my business, but to protect myself. But I'm not going to go out quizzing the public for answers on actively seeking. I'm not like, not my thing. I don't really, that thought process, not something I want to hang on to. So she's like, okay, so then she like pulls up. I was like, well, what does it look like? Like, what is, I mean, what do you even say? I was like, well, I don't even know the vocabulary to ask. Like, how do you research something? Like, how would you research it? And she's like, well, see, that's the thing. She's like, I've been using your computer. She's like, and you can put on, like, there's a thing, right? The Google thing. And I'm like, Google thing? Right? She's like, yeah, that's one of those web browsers. I was like, okay, all right. And she's like, if you put it up here, she's like, then you can get pictures and it gives you a story, like it tells you things. And I was like, right? I was like, so that sounds like a lot of research. I was like, did you do the research? Because I don't want to sit here and, I mean, like, get to the point already. And she's like, yeah, no, I know that's how you are. She's like, yeah, no, here. She's like, look, see, this is what they say it looks like. And she's like, it comes in some kind of what they call a rock. I'm like, okay, a rock, that's important. She's like, yeah. I was like, is that the only form it comes in? Is this thing called a rock? And I was like, what are the other choices? Like, what could I possibly get a rock confused with? And she's like, well, and I'm like, she's like, you mean for crack or you mean for other drugs? And I go, I don't know, Donna, you and your husband seem to be the aficionado here. I was like, I don't even know who to ask for these things. I was like, I mean, do I have to go to like a sheriff's office and take a meeting, a council meeting? I mean, like, is this important? I mean, I sell real estate. I don't, like, the drug thing, like, I mean, and she's like, yeah, no, I know. Well, actually, you know, like, my husband and I were thinking for our kids, we should probably alert them so they're aware. And I was like, yeah, all right, I get that. But see, with my kids, I don't even mention that drugs exist. I was like, because in their world, it doesn't. I'm not presenting them with drugs. I'm not giving them that option. And if somebody approaches them with these things, I don't want them to go, oh, yeah, my mom told me about that. Like, they're educated on something. You understand? I'm not promoting this shit. I want them to be like, wait, you got what? I don't know what that is. And walk away like I did. You understand? And she was like, actually, she's like, that does make sense, but that's not what we were doing with our kids. And I was like, right, no, I get that, but if you don't educate the kids on the bad drug stuff, then they don't know. And then when people ask them about it, they literally can say physically, I don't know, you're going to have to tell me about it. And usually the bad people trying to push that kind of shit don't want to have a whole conversation with some kind of recording device to get themselves all tripped up. They'll go to the kids, the parents already taught them about it, and like it's a thing. Like, I'm trying to not make it a thing where I am. And she's like, right. I was like, okay, so got it, rock. I was like, so what else do these things? I was like, I mean, I guess, is it something that it's in a hard rock? I was like, is this one of those things where they grab like the other kind of rock and they smash it and they make it into little rocks? I was like, and then I was like, that they put it in a capsule? I was like, how does this thing come? And she's like, well, no, I haven't heard. I don't think they do that with that. They do that with something else. And I'm like, right, yeah, okay. But again, like, where is this going to be? I mean, I'll listen to you, and I want to be respectful of your opinion and what you're trying to teach me, Donna. But, like, I'm also on the fence of, like, how much do I really need to know when this is not something that I want in my life, and I don't want to, you know, this is I don't want to go down this tunnel. Like, this is not who I am, and, you know. And she's like, right, no, I get that. She's like, but you're starting to date, and there's, like, guys, like, you know, I think that's what they were intimating with Warren, is that, like, he's into some stuff, because, I mean, he grew up in Bayshore, Bayshore, and so he was exposed to a lot more, and you might be, like, a little, you know, naive, maybe, and they're just, the sheriff's just concerned about you dating the guys, and they're knowing things that you don't know, and then how do we let you know that you don't know stuff, and then, and I'm like, yeah, see, I was like, this is why I don't want to even go out dating. I'm like, why is it so difficult to find one person that's, like, respectable? I'm like, how are you supposed to find someone? Especially now, I got kids, I got all this responsibility, I got stupid fucking business. I was like, how am I supposed to find, like, a respectable person? I was like, I don't want to go, I mean, like, you know, bars, and that's what, like, Paul says, the radio station guy. He's like, yeah, you go to bars, but lounges. What? It's not who I am. It's get all dressed up in like outfits that, I mean, I went out with one girl. I had this friend Jen, who was a neighbor of mine in Bayside, right before I moved to Virginia, and she like used to model, and she was absolutely gorgeous. She called herself Peruvian, dark skin, dark hair. I mean, absolute stunning like model, but also like a effervescent personality, and she had a friend who lived across the street that came from, I think she said Eastern Europe, and she was doing like a student teacher visa thing that lived across the street from us that I didn't even know. And we all went out one night to some lounge, and I'm like, what is a lounge? She's like, and I was married to Jay at the time, and I'm like, Jen, I don't have clothes. Like, I had just given birth to Daniel. I'm like, I'm fat. I don't have clothes. I'd feel weird. And she's like, no, just come out, you're for mom's night, whatever. And I'm like, all right. So, like, I put on like a pair of jeans, I think, and like a sweater. I mean, like, I don't know. And she's like, no, right. And then it was like, how do we get her back in the house? Because she can't wear jeans and a sweater to where the men are wearing silk and like their shirts opened and like it's like a swinger, whatever, weird fucking greasy thing in the disgusting suburb of Long Island City in Queens. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll go back inside. I don't have to go. And so, I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if I showed up, I didn't show up. She's like, how about if I help you look in your closet? And I was like, you look in my closet. I was like, I don't really have any clothes. I mean, I go to work, I go to school, I go home to my kids, that's it. I was like, and I just got out of maternity clothes. What more is there to see in my closet? So, yeah, these are like the absurd, like, nuances of nobody gives a shit landing, and the entire time I have wasted as human. This is like the extent of the importance of what I've been through, just waiting daily for something better to come along.